Excuse me.
Yes, how may I help you?
I heard that a company called Nvidia recently had an earnings surprise.
That is correct.
And they say Nvidia is ranked #1 in global market capitalization?
Indeed it is.
Why is it so expensive?
Would you like the short answer or the long answer?
The shorter, the better.
It's because AI is booming.
If that's the short one, it's a bit too short. How about the long answer?
Most people just leave after hearing the short answer.
Pardon? What did you say?
Oh, nothing. By the way, aren't you going to order a coffee? This is a cafe after all.
I'll have a cup of hot coffee, please.
Oh, really? If you are a paying customer, that changes everything.
Sir?
Here is your coffee.
I just heard a sound that you wouldn't normally hear, like a capsule coffee machine.
You must have misheard.
That's strange. Didn't something just move over there?
You must have misjudged.
How strange. Anyway, why is Nvidia so expensive?
As a paying customer, you deserve a proper explanation. Please take a look at this first. This is the stock price change over the past 5 years. For your reference, these figures reflect the stock splits.
Wow, if only I had bought Nvidia 5 years ago. By the way, what is a stock split?
For example, it's like cutting a whole pizza into 4 slices. You still have one whole pizza, but it's easier to hold and eat. As a result, it makes the price of a single share look cheaper and increases accessibility for people. However, when I said I reflected it, you can just think of it as adjusting the historical prices to match the current stock price standard, so we can easily compare them.
Adjusted the standard, I see.
Now, let's go back to the stock chart. There are 5 major points where the upward and downward trends shift significantly.
Oh, looking at the graph like this, the trends seem to change roughly every year.
5 years ago, around March 2021, Nvidia's stock price was $12.5 and steadily rising. During the pandemic, as many people work from home, the demand for PCs and GPUs increased. Companies continued to invest in the new theme of the metaverse, and with the cryptocurrency mining boom, the demand for GPUs went up endlessly.
That was when people weren't traveling much.
Then, after hitting a peak of about $33.4 in November 2021, the stock price began to plummet. There was a lot of bad news. The US Federal Reserve started raising interest rates. The pandemic boom ended, causing a drop in PC and GPU demand. And when Ethereum's mining method changed in September 2022, GPUs were no longer needed for mining.
But why only mention Ethereum? Isn't Bitcoin the representative cryptocurrency? I heard Bitcoin prices also dropped around that time. Could it be that because Bitcoin fell, miners stopped mining, which caused Nvidia's stock to drop?
That is unlikely. Bitcoin's mining difficulty had already become very high since the 2000s. So it was being mined using application-specific integrated circuits, or ASICs, custom chips designed solely for Bitcoin mining, rather than Nvidia's general-purpose semiconductors. Ultimately, it would be a stretch to say Bitcoin directly impacted Nvidia's stock price.
Aha, I understand.
Usually, people who say that haven't actually understood.
Pardon?
Let us move on. By October 2022, the stock price had fallen to the $11.2 level, but from then on, it started rising again. In November 2022, OpenAI announced ChatGPT, and the generative AI boom began. During this time, Nvidia started mass-producing and selling its AI accelerator, the H100 chip.
Even if I had just bought it at the end of 2022, I would have made over 16 times my money on Nvidia.
By the end of 2023, people were witnessing its actual growth. In the fourth quarter of 2023, data center revenue, which includes AI chipset sales, increased by 409% compared to the same period the previous year. The H100 chip created such a shortage, but even big tech companies couldn't get their hands on them, and Nvidia's operating margin exceeded 60%. The growth from 11.2 to 49.5 was astonishing in itself. But as countless investors saw these results and flocked in, the stock began to soar even more steeply from then on.
If I had bought it just when AI started looking promising, it would have more than tripled.
Such an upward trend hit its peak in November 2024 and then began to decline.
The R1 model, announced by the Chinese startup DeepSeek, achieved high-performance AI without using massive amounts of Nvidia's latest chips. This sparked fear that the AI era could unfold without Nvidia chips. Furthermore, in the first half of 2025, the Trump administration announced the imposition of tariffs, leading to a bottoming out in April 2025.
Now that you mention it, I remember those news stories. But just hearing your summary, it sounds like Nvidia should have been doomed from that point. Why did the stock price go back up?
There were talks of the White House adjusting the tariffs, and the issue wasn't a decline in Nvidia's own competitiveness anyway. In addition to the Stargate project, countless companies and nations worldwide announced AI investments, meaning demand never ceased.
What is the Stargate project?
It is a public-private partnership where OpenAI, SoftBank, and others have joined forces to pour up to $500 billion into building AI data center infrastructure in the US. Simply put, it means there is continued demand for Nvidia. However, there are rumors regarding massive funding challenges and power struggles among the partners, so we will have to wait and see how successful it will be.
Aha! Simply put, it means a growing company just stumbled briefly due to some issues, but continued to grow overall.
In October 2025, Nvidia's stock price reached $207. That remains Nvidia's historical all-time high so far. Afterward, Google announced that they trained Gemini 3 using their own chipset called TPU, which reignited talks of moving away from Nvidia.
Whoa, I mostly get it now. So it went up to $207 like that.
I explained it so thoroughly, and you mostly get it.
People often talk about liquidity changes, like when the central bank supplies a lot of money to the market or withdraws it.
The interest rate hikes I mentioned earlier when Nvidia's price fell are also a part of liquidity control.
Couldn't it just be that Nvidia's success or failure was simply due to those liquidity fluctuations?
Liquidity did increase quite a bit during the pandemic, so we cannot say it had no impact on the rise in 2021. The decline in 2022 happened while the US Fed raised interest rates from 0.25% to 5.5%, so we cannot deny its effect either. However, even though interest rates were maintained at 5.5% after that, the stock price continued to rise. So, from that point on, we can't really say liquidity was the main reason.
Comparing 2021 and 2025, did the sales ratio between AI chipsets and graphic cards change drastically?
Yes, the proportions changed significantly. There is no official revenue reported specifically as AI chipsets, but the proportion of data center revenue, which includes AI chipset sales, jumped from 39% in 2021 to 90% in 2025. Conversely, the gaming proportion dropped from 46% to 7%, but honestly, that's just because AI chipsets did so exceptionally well. Looking purely at the absolute value of revenue, gaming actually increased from $12.5 billion to $16 billion.
But there's AMD and those Google chips you mentioned earlier, so why is Nvidia doing so exceptionally well?
I must talk about CUDA.
See, what?
It is the software ecosystem released by Nvidia in 2006, which has become the de facto standard for AI development. Therefore, it won't be easy for companies pursuing AI to simply look at the prices of AMD or Google chips and switch over to them instead of Nvidia. Employees would have to learn something new. All previous development work would need to be redone, and they wouldn't be able to recruit the countless experts already familiar with CUDA.
Wow, 2006? But even if they announced a software ecosystem back then, I don't think I could have predicted Nvidia's success. When could someone have realistically anticipated that Nvidia was going to do so well? Oh, by the way, among the companies Nvidia acquired, is there one directly related to their current success?
We have to mention Mellanox Technologies here. As AI models became massive, it required connecting not just one or two GPUs, but tens of thousands. The network technology from Mellanox solved the data transmission bottlenecks between these chips.
Oh, things like that. When was that acquisition?
The acquisition was announced in March 2019, and the actual purchase was completed in April 2020. At the time of the acquisition, Jensen Huang also talked about artificial intelligence. If you had knowledge of Mellanox Technologies or trusted Jensen Huang's words, you might have gotten in a bit early.
Just for reference, what was Nvidia's stock price in April 2020?
it was around $7.
If I had bought it then, it would be 30 times my money?
But, well, considering it went up to $33 at the end of 2021 and then dropped to $11, is there anyone who could have endured that?
Delete the stock trading app.
But that's something you can only say because Nvidia ended up succeeding. There is no guarantee that a company's stock will bounce back just because it went down.
Thank you. Thanks to you, sir. I feel like I somewhat understand Nvidia now. But looking ahead at things like DeepSeek's AI investment efficiency, tariffs, and Google's TPU, even being the #1 company in global market capitalization doesn't mean they can soar without any worries.
Well, there were no other customers around anyway.
Huh? Why are you suddenly turning off the lights? Are your business hours over already?
I wasn't the one who turned them off.
Now that I think about it, the lights were off when I first came in too, right? Why is that? Is it a theme?
Sadly, the deadline to pay my cafe's electricity bill was yesterday, and I couldn't pay it.
Huh? Why didn't you pay it?
As you can see, because I have no customers.
No way! Then, if you know so much about Nvidia, why didn't you at least buy some Nvidia stock?
I've just yelled. I should have bought it when they said that.
I'll make sure to visit often.
Yes, please come again. Please.